Greetings of peace and love, everybody. What is creative fate? Now, a lot of you have not been introduced to creative fate. You may know what creativity is, and I'm sure you know what fate is. But let's get into creative fate. Creative fate is a concept that is talked about in the occult. And creative fate goes back to the story of how we became physical beings. And this is what I want to go ahead and do and break down here in this video, and give a lot of good information on exactly how we descended here to this meager plane of the physical reality. How exactly did this happen? Well, this happened from what is called creative fate. Creative fate. It was creativity that got us into this situation. It was our creativity that got us here. When we first came to this plane, when I say we, I'm speaking of physical beings in general, whether they were reptilian looking, whether they were mammalian looking, or whether they were humanoid looking. Get all of that out of your mind. Let's just talk about physical reality in general. And physical reality was a result of creative fate. You see, we descended here to this plane. We came from a very lofty state and descended here to this meager plane. And we were beings that wanted to be equal with the universal order and with the galactic order. And we felt as though we shouldn't have to answer to any type of godhead or any type of energy or any type of entity that is over us. You see, when we first came here, we came here as a result of rebellion against structure. So the whole concept of physical reality is based on rebellion, is based on survival of the fittest. And this is why you get the concept of good and evil and the concept of polar opposites. This is what happened. This was our karmic debt for descending to this plane of physical reality. And it was creative fate that got us here. Creativity. Creativity. What exactly is creation? Creation means to grow a thing. When you decide that you're going to become an artist, you're going to draw a picture, you get the image of the picture in your mind. You see the picture on the fourth dimension. Like, you see the image clearly. So then you go about creating the image, right? And the way you create the image is you grow the image. And the way you grow the image is you draw it line for line until you build on that image. This is how an artist brings its creation into reality. So to create is to grow. And we got here based upon using different components of the universe and merging them together to create a physical reality. So in essence, when I say we, I'm speaking of the original beings that manifested the physical reality. This is how they got here. They descended from a more noble type of being, and it was creative fate that got them here. Creative fate, curiosity. Curiosity and creative fate go hand in hand, because it was our curiosity that caused us to want to devise and construct a way to experience physical reality. And I know a lot of this is philosophical. And you're like, what exactly are you saying, Ra? I'm saying this. Your overall creativity and your ability to be creative is what got you here to this plane. And it took layers and layers of creativity to eventually lead up to the physical body. But essentially, you created your physical body and your physical shell. And not only that, but you created your whole reality. Everything that you experience, you created it. You are the God over your reality. And it's all based on creativity. And many people might think, well, what's wrong with creativity? I mean, creativity is good. Yeah, Creativity is great. I'm not saying anything is wrong with it. But at the end of the day, or I should say, however, at the end of the day, it was creative fate that landed us here in this situation. And it is only creativity that would get you out of this situation. You see, it's creativity that is the tool that is used by the Luciferians to control you. It's creativity. Creativity is that tool that is used. And the way that they control you is they create ways to block off your creativity. So essentially, the war is a war of creativity. Who can create or concoct or construct the best plan to stay in control and to stay in power? And this is what the Luciferians desire to do. They desire to keep souls trapped here. Those souls that were curious, those souls that decided to create a way to descend into matter, into the matters and the cares of the world, into the material world. You see, you had to go through various stages to get to the physical world. You started out as a spiritual being, a spiritual being. Now, when I say a spiritual being, we know that a spiritual being is basically one that cannot be seen or detected by the naked eye or by the senses of the five dimension or by the five senses that are a part of the third dimensional reality. A spiritual being is one who exists outside of that particular time and space. And at one point, you existed and still do exist as a spiritual being. You existed outside of time and space. Now let's go into how you got here and how you descended here. Now you have a spirit body, and you have a soul, and you have a physical heart. A physical heart. Now your spirit body and your soul exist within your heart. So it is in the heart that you first begin to experience physical reality through the heart chakra. The heart is the first part of the child that is developed. And a lot of people don't realize this. It is the heart. It is the heart. The heart is the first part of the child. You're developed from the center on out. The tongue comes from out of the heart, according to medical terminology. So it was the heart that was the first part of the physical reality. And this is where your soul lives. And this is where your spirit originates as well. And your spirit is a body that holds your soul body. So your spirit body was first, and that holds your soul. Your spirit is basically the body that holds your soul. Kind of like a Russian doll. You know how you have the Russian dolls, and then there's one doll, and then inside that doll there's another doll. Well, that's how it's set up in the relationship between your spirit and your soul. Your spirit holds your soul, and all of this is encapsulated in your physical heart. In your physical heart. So this is the first layer of creative fate, and you manifesting here. When you first started manifesting here, the first thing that you experienced was compassion. The first thing that you experienced was love. These are the first experiences of the physical plane. These experiences of compassion and love go way back. They go way back. These are the original experiences of the physical plane. And from that experience came the mental manifestation. And that's the second aspect. The mental manifestation, or the head, came from out of the heart. Even when you were a baby in your mother's womb, regardless to what they tell you, your head came from out of the heart. Came from out of the heart. The heart is the first place of origin, or the 0 point of origin. It's in the heart. And the head came from out of that. So the mental plane came from out of the emotional plane. You see, so I'm explaining to you exactly how we got here to this point. And all of these things that you experience, like emotions and all of that and love and stuff, the reason why you experience these things is because these were a part of the very fabric of getting you here. And these are a part of your creation as a human. So the mental part of you came from out of that. And the mental part of you is connected to what's called the plasmic part of you. You have a part of you that's plasma. And many people sell plasma. They donate plasma. But you are very much a plasma being. And they're extraterrestrials called the plasma beings. And I'm not covering extraterrestrials here, but I'm pointing it out because the plasmic part of you ties directly into the mental part of you. The plasmic part of you is the body of the mental, that holds the mental aspect of you. The mental aspect of you is encapsulated within the plastic or the plasma part of you. And the plasma part of you, so you have two hearts. Believe it or not, you have two hearts. You have the physical heart that I talked about earlier, and then you have what's called a spiritual heart. And the spiritual heart is located within the plasmic part of you, the plasmic component of you. And the spiritual heart is responsible for you experiencing higher emotions, emotions that a lot of people know nothing of, like divine love, for instance, like compassion, like doing something for someone expecting nothing. Not emotions that are attached to the ego part of you. See, that's the physical part of you, or the physical heart of yours. Those are the emotions that are attached to the ego. You know, when you give somebody something and expect something in return, like when a guy gives a woman some money and he expects sex in return. That's the physical. That's being showing physical compassion, or loving somebody on a physical level. It's based on what you get back. See, everything here is based on polarity. I give because I want to get. But then you have a spiritual component, or a spiritual heart, that's like, that'll just give and don't expect anything back. And that's the part of you that when you really see somebody in despair, you really see somebody out there and they really need help, and you really just give them something, you really are like, no, I don't want you to pay me back. I just want you to get back right. That's the part of you. That's the spiritual heart, or the spiritual component part of you. That's locked into the fourth dimension, and that's the part that's tied into the old emotions of the universe, the compassion and the love that it took to create the universe, and the peace and the justice that it took to create the universe. All of these things are located in the spiritual part, or the spiritual part of you. And then you have the physical body. You finally descended. You came from creative fate. Remember, creative fate wanted you to experience all of this. So you came from this high state of a spiritual being. And remember, spirit is essentially breath. So you came from a spiritual being and you descended into a mental being. And you descended into a plasma being. You finally descended into a physical being. So you went through various stages to get to the state of physical reality, but you were existing and very much real in those stages. And all of those stages, you can still remember those stages. Believe it or not, these stages were part of your past life. The plasma part of you. These are all part of your past lives. And this is why when people don't understand that, when you start talking about reptilians and most extraterrestrial beings, you probably went through those various stages to get to the human part of you. Humans have what's called the reptilian part of their brain, because at the very core of humans is a reptilian. And you have to grow out of that. You have to grow past that. And you had various jumps in your evolution, various quantum leaps in your evolution that scientists have no explanation of. And the reason why they have no explanation of this is because this is the part that the higher beings and the higher intelligent beings stepped in and began to experiment on your genetics to speed up and jump your evolution so that you can eventually make it back to being light beings. That's the goal. So you descended based on creative fate and wanted to experience. And your creativity is what got you here, was linked into your curiosity. It was your creativity and your curiosity that led you here. And it's your creativity that's going to get you out of here so that you can ascend. So now you've made it to the human point. So now it's time to ascend. It's time to go up Jacob's ladder and ascend into being a light being again. And you have to go through various steps in doing that. And it's all about climbing Jacob's ladder. It's all about climbing Jacob's ladder. So that's basically a brief dissertation on creative fate. I know a lot of people have not heard of this, but creative fate is really essentially what you would call Lucifer. When you talk about the story of Lucifer, many people know that Lucifer was very intelligent. Lucifer was very brilliant. And he led a rebellion and was kicked out of the heavens because he wanted to be God. And that's why he was kicked out. And that's what creative fate essentially is. Creative fate is that energy that puts you on a level of the universe and makes you feel like you're God, because you have the power to create. And this is why Lucifer felt like he was God, because he found out that he had the power to create, and he felt as though he could be self-sufficient and self-sustaining based upon his ability to create, which is true only to a certain degree, because even in creation, you still have to use materials from existence to create. And this is the part that the Luciferians don't take into account. They don't take into account the materials that have to be used in order to create. So essentially, nothing is yours. You're borrowing material to create. You're borrowing components and thoughts and ideas and concepts from the universe to create your reality, because you didn't invent this. These thoughts and these ideas were here before you. And this is where the Luciferians go wrong at, because you have to pay homage to things that came before you. You have to pay homage. So essentially, you are not self-sustaining, because you have to honor those things that came before you. And this is why in their call, we offer energy up. We offer energy up because we want to pay homage to the things that went before us. But the Luciferians, in truth, they know this, but they keep you deceived. And this is how they keep you deceived. They keep you deceived because they don't want you to know it. They don't want you to know it. So they'll pay homage, and they'll do what they have to do, and they'll make their sacrifices and offerings and do their rituals and things like that. But they don't want you to know about it, because they want you to continue to violate free will over and over again, so that you'll stay stuck in this place, which keeps them in control. Because essentially, the Luciferians created their own realm. They rebelled against the galactic order and came to this physical reality. And the Luciferians created this physical reality. They created this realm. They created this own realm. This realm. The whole physical reality was created by them. And I'm going to go more into that in another video that I'm going to be doing briefly. But that's my brief spill on Creative Fate in reference to the Luciferians and how we got here. And Creative Fate is the only way to get out of this situation. I have to put emphasis on that. It is your creativity, beloved, that will get you out of here. The Luciferians do not encourage you to be creative, because they want you to stay working for them while they create. They create a business and then hire you as a slave or an employee, because their whole goal is to keep control, levels, structure, keep everything up under control. And the way to keep everything up under control is to suppress creativity. So that's why the food, the water, the drugs, television, sex, all of these things, when unskillful sex, I should say, unskillful sex, all of these things suppresses creativity. And this is why people can't figure a way out, because they don't have creative faith. They don't have creative will. You see, they don't know how to tap into their own creativity to get out. It was your creativity that got you here. So you have to use that same thing to get you out, to climb back up Jacob's ladder. And a lot of people, the Luciferians, aren't promoting that anymore. They're not promoting creativity because they want people to be like robots and machines. And really, the machine agenda, this is why it's being promoted so much, because they don't want thinking individuals. The whole concept of being able to think is based on creativity, because you have a choice. Creativity always leaves you with a choice, and they hate that. It's nothing you can do as far as an attack when a person is creative. Any attack that you put on a person, they're going to create a way out of it. Because every time you attack, and a real martial artist knows this, every time you attack, you open yourself up and you're vulnerable in a certain area. So when you open up and you attack, you're vulnerable in a certain area, and a creative person's going to see that area, and they're going to go through that hole that you're vulnerable at. They're going to go through that out that you left open. You see, so you can't really get with a creative person. And the only way a creative person will be destroyed is through themselves. And that's what they do. They suppress your creativity so that you cannot think outside the box. They don't want you to think outside the box, because they want to keep people locked here in this matrix and constantly reincarnating back over and over again, which keeps the physical reality real. And the physical reality is going to get a lot worse, y'all. It's going to get a lot worse, especially once we transition into going to Mars. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I did a video on how they're transitioning our civilization, Earth civilization, to Mars. It's called Photos on Mars and Full Disclosure. I suggest that you watch that. We are being shifted to another physical consciousness as we speak, and eventually humanity will end up on Mars. We can't stay here, y'all. We can't stay here. Well, a lot of people can't stay here. Some people will stay here, but a lot of people can't stay here because their vibrations aren't high enough. So they're not going to be able to take 4D and 5D Earth. So they have to move civilization to another planet. And that's why they're doing this. And it's all about the Luciferians. It's all a part of their little Luciferian agenda to basically control the surface of the planet and to keep control of humans so that they can keep slaves and so that they can keep their game going. That's what it's all about, keeping their game going. So if you want to get out of this, it's up to you to tap into your creative fate and your creative will. And the way that you do that is that you have to learn, first you have to learn your fate. To create a way out, you have to learn your fate. See, there's a difference between fate and destiny. And I want to point this out. You have fate and destiny. Destiny is the destination that you arrive at based upon your free will and your choice. Fate is your limitations and you feeding into them and becoming a victim to your limitations. So say, for instance, you were born into a situation where your mother was on crack. That's fate. That's a fatal situation. That's fate. But you don't have to be limited by your fate, because you can use creativity to get out of that particular situation. You can use creativity to get out of that situation. Let's go a little bit deeper with creative fate. It's fate when you look at your natal chart. You have a natal chart, right? And any negative aspect that you have, and an aspect is basically a particular geometrical angle that two planets make with each other that isn't favorable. So say for instance, a 90-degree aspect is called a square. And a square basically essentially is what's called a challenge. So this is fate. This is something that was in your natal chart, and it's a challenge, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Some people have hard challenges. And these are people, and they always ask questions like, why does this happen to me? How come life is going like this for me? Why is it this way? All these type of things. If you are saying these type of things, basically this is a challenge in your life, and you have to use creativity to get out of this challenge, because a challenge is linked into fate. You see, all of your challenges are a part of your fate, and you have to learn how to use the knowledge and the information pertaining to the challenge so that you can create a way out of your fate. You see, so that you won't fall victim to your particular environment. See, people say I'm a product of my environment. P-O-M-E. I'm a product of my environment. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a victim of circumstance. You know what I'm saying? That's that whole mentality. That's fate. That's what fate is. That's the whole thinking of it. And the way out of it is through creativity. You are not a product of your environment. If you have enough information, you don't have to be a product of your environment, because when you have enough information, you can create a way out of the fatal situation that you're in. And that's fate. Fate doesn't have to be your demise. It doesn't have to become your destiny, is what I'm saying. It only becomes your destiny when you decide that that's your destiny. So in order to have a wholesome destiny, you have to put yourself on a course where you decide and control your own life, where you are the driver of your own life, where you make your own decisions and nobody else is in control of that. You don't let the outside matrix or the external world control you. This is destiny, is when you control the outcome of different circumstances. So you're born in your environment, right? But you don't have to be a product of it. It doesn't have to become a part of your destiny to be a victim. Your destiny can become the victor. You don't have to become the victim. You can become the victor based upon your destiny, and using your creative, learn how to work with your creative fate based upon looking at the so-called negative aspects that are located in your natal chart, and learning how to work with those, and learning how to meet those challenges and to beat those challenges and to surpass those challenges. So it sounds like a deep philosophical concept, but it's not. You descended here based on creativity. The only way off of this planet and to ascend is based on creativity. It's your creativity, beloved, that will get you out of the circumstances, I don't care what they are, that you are in. You can create a way out of anything that you are in right now. You can create a way. Creativity is what thinking outside the box talks about. Creativity has no limitations. Has no limitations. So use your creativity. It got you here, and you can get out. It's the best kept secret. Keep it sacred. Peace.